So in the second chain from the hook, so not this first one, but the second one, we're going to do a half double crochet. So I've yarned over. I'll insert my hook, bring the yarn back through, and then yarn over and go through all 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, and now I'm going to do a half double crochet, go through again, yarn over, bring it through, and then all 3 loops. So I'm going to continue to do a half double crochet in every single stitch all the way across. And if you haven't done a half double crochet before, this is a stitch that's in height. It's kind of in between a single crochet and a double crochet for height. It's not as high as a double crochet. This pattern here, the stitch works really well with that velvet yarn. Sometimes a velvet yarn can worm out, and kind of if you have a loose stitch, it'll work out of the stitches. And I found that this stitch pattern is working really well. The reason that I'm doing a half double crochet in every stitch along is when I started my pattern out, initially I tried my pattern doing my V-stitches in every other stitch, but I had a large gap in that velvet yarn, and I was afraid it was going to worm out in that first row. So then I did not do that. I decided to have a 1 row of half double crochet, and which we almost have done here. Okay, now I'm going to chain one, I'm sorry, which does not count anything, it's just a turning chain. Yarn over, and then in that first stitch, you see that first stitch right there, there's 2 loops. We're going to go under those loops, and we're going to do a half double crochet. Then we're going to skip the next, and in the next stitch we're going to do 2 half double crochets. There's 1 and 2. Skip the next stitch and go into the next, and then do 2 half double crochets. And this is a half double crochet V-stitch. Sometimes you will see them with a chain stitch between the 2 stitches. I purposely did not, because I did not want that stitch to loosen up my stitches at all on the velvet. So I chose to just do the 2 half double crochets. Again, skip 1, 2 half double crochets in the next. There we go. Skip that, go to the next. This is a lovely pattern. This is one of these you really don't even have to count. You can watch TV. 1, 2. Okay. And then our very last one, we're going to skip this stitch right here. And then we have this very last stitch that we're going to put our hook in right here, okay? And there we go. We have our chain stitches. Then we have our foundation row of half double crochet, and now I have a half double crochet, skipping 1, 2 half double crochets, skip 1, 2 half double crochet, all the way across until you skip 1, and then you do a half double crochet in the very last stitch. So now the next row that we're going to do, I'm going to quick get more yarn while I'm talking to you. The next row that we're going to do is the row that's going to be repeated all the way throughout this pattern. So I'm going to show you here. We got our turning chain. Each time you're going to do a turning chain, yarn over, and then we insert our hook and do a half double crochet. Okay, got to get through all of our loops here. Now, in the previous row, we have our 2 half double crochets. We're going to go in between those, not on the loops on top. We're going to go in between those 2 stitches, and we're going to do our 2 half double crochets that way. There's 1, 2. It makes it really easy to find your stitches. So again, then we skip this, and we go into, so we skip this double crochet, half double crochet, we skip that one, and we're in between those next ones. I'm going to pull this apart. It's right here. You see that? It's right in between. And when I was working on the velvet, I always looked for this, not the 2 loops above, but this part right here, this yarn loop, and I'd go right underneath that, and I was always able to get my spot. And then 2 half double crochet, and then we skip to the next one and we go in between them again and 2 half double crochet, and we just repeat this all the way across. See, we skip this half double crochet, skip that one, and we just go in between the half double crochets. There's 1, 2, go to the next, and I don't think I jammed it in there right. There we go. I could just tell it went in a little bit hard, so I just pull it back out and make sure that my hook is going through the open spot, and that's okay. And here comes our last one, and then we skip this and then we go right to the very last stitch. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get in there, but that's where you have that turning chain, and it makes it nice to find a spot. And again, we do a turning chain, but this is the stitch pattern. So again, we do the same pattern that we just did. We do the chain 1, we turn, and our half double crochet right here in the first stitch, and then we go in between those 2 stitches right here, and we do 2 half double crochets, and this is the pattern that you continue to repeat the entire time you're working on it. And I'm going to show you right after this here how it is to work on the velvet yarn so that you see how that is to work. If you've never worked on velvet yarn before, it might be a little bit scary to start with, but it's lovely. Once you get used to the feel and a little bit slipperiness of the yarn and a little bit chunkiness, it's just wonderful. But there you go. And that's how you crochet this pattern. I hope that you enjoy this blanket, and I hope that you give crocheting on velvet a try. So I'm going to show you how to work the velvet next. Hi folks, this is Vicky at patternprincess.com. Today I want to show you how to work on this lovely it's a Bernat Baby Velvet Yarn. And this one here, I'm making this blanket. Of course, I'll have the free pattern on my website shortly. I just love how this is turning out. It has some nice texture, and it's just once you get to, I think it's the second or third row, it's a repeat of that row. And this here, it's a Bernat Baby Velvet. And what I like about this yarn here is that there's 492 yards, and of course this is washable. It is a medium 4 yarn. I am using a Furls K crochet hook to work this with, but I'm going to show you how it is to crochet on this yarn itself. As you can see, oh gosh, I'm about halfway done with this skein here. The blanket that I'm going to make, I'm going to use 3 skeins, and I'm not going to be putting a border on it, so this is just perfect for a beginner to make. So I'm going to show you how it is to crochet on this. Okay, I have just come to the end of the row here, so now I'm going to do a turning chain. That does not count as anything. Yarn over, and it's going to be hard to see, but in the first stitches right here, I'm going to do a half double crochet. You pull through all 3 loops. Then I'm going to yarn over. And what I have done, I've done my V-stitch of 2 half double crochets, and there is no chain stitch in the middle because I wanted to make sure that I had a nice tight stitch for this pattern. So I've yarned over, I'm going to put my hook through the middle of those 2 stitches, yarn over, and bring it through all 3 loops. And I'm going to do it one more time right in the middle. So I just created a V-stitch, and I'm going to yarn over, and then I'm going to skip over. You can see now where that next V-stitch is, and I'm going to go right in the center of the next V-stitch, and there we go. Put my yarn through and bring it through all 3 loops, yarn over, insert my hook again in the middle, yarn over, and bring it through all 3 loops. That is the pattern until we get to the very end, when we will do a half double crochet in the last stitch. But this makes a lovely texture. It's really pretty. There's just a little hint of the repeating pattern in the yarn here, but I think it's going to be just wonderful when it's done, and it's so soft and just so velvety. It's a very nice light blanket, but it's very warm, very soft, very snuggly, very warm to be under. It's kind of hard crocheting this when it's hot in the summer without air conditioning in the house. This is not one that I'd want to do outside in 90-degree weather, but it's okay if you have an air-conditioned house. So as you can see, this pattern works up really quick, and there we go. And you see how nice and thick that is? Look at how thick that is, but it's extremely light and very soft. And I have not had any problems with this stitch, with the stitches worming out and pulling out. I've had no problems at all. There was no stitches that I've had to pull out. So this is a really good pattern with this one. Really pretty. Hopefully you can see that pattern stitch. And please remember to like, share it, and subscribe so you can get more videos. Thank you.